Hello, so today I thought I'd make a video about my experiences in acting as a new actress. I've recently started acting about a few months ago. I'd say I've been acting for nearly a year, and I just thought to share my experiences and what I've learned over the past few months as a new actress. There are a few resources and people who do talk about stuff, but I feel like a majority of people don't really want to tell anything, or they don't want to talk. They like to keep their cards to their chest pretty much and don't really like to share resources. So I thought I'd shared what I know with everybody. Although, I'm new, so I don't really know too much, but I thought I'd just get on here and tell everybody the things that I've learned. And I think there are some lessons to be learned with an acting, and especially as a newcomer. And I've definitely learned a few things, and there's plenty I can still learn as well too. But I thought I'd be the one to share what I know and what I've learned. So I've always known I wanted to act since I was about 14 years old, and I never really, I was so scared, so I never really did acting until several years later. And my fear, I've always had stage fright, so I'd always use that as an excuse as to why I wouldn't act or be in anything. And I'm a shy person as well. I know a lot of people say actors are kind of shy, but I'm a very shy person, and acting always terrified me. It still is a very scary industry and scary thing to do. Put yourself out there and be an actor, as well as many other jobs. But I've always known since I was 14, but I never really did anything about it until recently. Last June in 2023, I did take my first ever acting class. And this class, it was like the best class I've ever taken. It was really fun, and that helped me learn things about acting, and we did a lot of exercises and acting exercises, and we did short films, plays, and things. So in this class, I actually had to do a play where we did about 4 shows. In the first show, it was really packed. It was like 60 plus people at this show, and as I said, I had stage fright. I still do, and so doing that play was terrifying. So we were practicing. We had to practice for several weeks, and we had to memorize. So I had 2 poems, and I had to memorize. It was a poetry show, so I had 2 poems, and I had to memorize both of them. And I challenged myself. I said I'm going to pick some of the longest poems I can. So I picked those 2, and then we practiced them, and then we had to perform. And so I went out there into we were in a theater, and I walked into the theater when it was time for showtime, and I walked out there, and I saw all those people. I was like, I didn't realize that so many people would show up. We walked out there, and immediately we had to start. So we got up there, and I was just so terrified, and we were up there as a group, and then it was everyone's turn to do solo, so it was my turn to walk up there. I blacked out. I don't even... I was so nervous, but when I finished both of my performances, it took us all about an hour and some change to do this poetry show. Well, whenever we finished the show, people did come up to me and said I did a really good job, and so I was like, "Oh, good, thank you," because I don't remember what even happened. I saw those people, and I was like, I started shaking. But that was actually my first experience doing a live theater, and it was a good experience to have.
The room, his head, the brightest I'd seen. I wondered why you chose that color, as greedy as the man that green, with all this crowd around. But it's just you and me. Their faces, I'd forget. Just can't find love, it seems. You are so cruel. The rudest boy in the room. Reverse your wrongdoings to help you make it to the tree that you failed to climb. You think she's calling you to lay under her shade and cry in all your states of gloom? When you make it back to the room to play with all your friends, do you hear me in the songs you sing? Or when I'm dancing with your band? Mates for once, or twice even, but never just a friend. And all that I wanted was to be your closest friend. Men to leap overboard in squadrons, even though they see the beach skulls. The song nobody knows, because anyone who has heard it is dead. And the others can't remember. Shall I tell you the secret? And if I do, will you get me out of this bird suit? I don't enjoy it here, squatting on this island, looking picturesque and mythical with these feathery maniacs. I don't enjoy singing this trio, fatal, invaluable. I will tell the secret to you, only to you. Come closer. This song is a cry for help. Help me! Only you can. You are unique at last. Alas, it is a boring song, but it works every time.
I still am kind of shying away from doing theater and plays. I just, still terrified about that, but I know that I can do those things, and it's pretty easy once you actually have everything down. The trick with theater and acting is you actually have to be prepared. If you're not prepared, you might as well not even be there, But there's chances for you to practice during theaters and all theater, and whenever you are doing acting where it's just kind of TV and film, you have to memorize things, and there are rehearsals sometimes there's not. But you just need to be prepared. Show up with 100% knowledge of what you're going to be doing or saying that day, and it'll go by a lot easier. In this acting class, we also did a short film. We did quite a few short films, but this was the one where I was in, and it was actually a short film recreation of the TV show Office, an episode from that. It was Dwight's, I don't know if I can say this word, so DRUG investigation. So look up Dwight's DRUG investigation on YouTube, and that's what we did. So I played Phyllis, and I also filled in for Jim. And Phyllis, I wore like the entire entire outfit like Phyllis, and I looked the part pretty much. I'll probably insert a clip of that little performance. It's just like a few seconds long. I didn't have a big part.
Do you know what this is?
Yes, it's marijuana.
How do you know that?
It's labeled.
Damn it! I cannot stop this investigation. It is my duty.
Whoa, you're a volunteer.
I volunteered for this job.
And that's not the same.
It is my duty.
Volunteer duty.
But that was my second acting experience ever, and it was in a short film. So I thought it was a pretty good experience though. But after my acting class ended so the class started in April and ended in, I think, June. So after that class ended, I was still kind of scared to do acting. There's a theme here with me with being terrified and scared of acting. So I've heard that a lot of people use Facebook groups to find casting calls. I knew that that's what I would have to do, so I kind of was scared to do that, and I didn't do it for several months until finally I said, okay, I'll join an acting Facebook group. So a few months roll around after I joined one of the Facebook groups in my local area, and I saw a casting call for it in December. I saw a casting call on there in December, one that I could do. So I was terrified, but I sent in an email to the people, the producers and the production company, and then I got another email shortly after asking if I could do the audition. And I was like, okay, you have to do it now. So I did it. And my audition, they gave me my sides and my script. It was just a page-long script for this audition, and so I got this script, and then I was practicing it for 2 days because the audition was in 2 days, and so I did that. And the entire time, I was just extremely nervous about the whole thing. As I said, this is my first ever actual legitimate. Well, it's my first ever audition, and so I was really scared about it. And for those 2 days, I was going over my script like crazy. I was trying to memorize it. I actually couldn't even sleep because I was worried about not doing good at the audition and forgetting everything. And then the audition was actually on December 11th, 2023, so it was on Zoom, a Zoom audition. This was my first ever Zoom audition, so I went on the Zoom, and I told you I was going crazy about it, so I got up super early, like 4 or 5 hours before the audition, and I was practicing it. And an hour before the audition started, I was going over everything, and I had it down 100%. And then as soon as I got on the Zoom call, I was super nervous. And then it was time to audition. The Zoom call was about 3 minutes long, and then the actual audition was a minute long. And whenever I got to the actual audition, I was so nervous. I was actually shaking on camera too, and I did end up messing up. Yes, and I forgot stuff too. And I knew as soon as I ended, I was like, oh, I messed up so bad. And so I was on the Zoom, and I was nervous. I was shaking. I went over my script, and I went over my lines. And he was reading it back to me on the Zoom. And so I ended it. Actually, during the audition, I was going over my script, and I was trying to be off book. And then I forgot everything, so I had to look down at my paper, and I didn't want to look down like I was reading, so I glanced at it for like 0.2 seconds, like this. And then I saw what I needed to do next in those 0.2 seconds, and then I finished the thing, but I still ended up messing up even though I looked down because I didn't look at it long enough. And then the audition ended, and as soon as I hung up the call, I said, I thought I messed up so bad. I was just beating myself up because I said I had this down, and then I messed it up as soon as I got on the Zoom call. It was really. I'm someone who gets like really nervous, worries a lot, so I was worried. And then 2 days later, I got an email, and the email said, "We would like to offer you the role." And I read it. I was like, because those the whole 2 days I was waiting, the whole 2 days before I got the email, I was like, oh, I didn't do good at all. This is horrible. But they still gave me the part. So this is the first lesson I've learned, is that even if you do mess up in an audition, that doesn't mean that you won't get the part. They might still see something within your audition that they liked from you, and they might give you the role too. So don't beat yourself up if you do have a bad audition, because you might get the part still. Also, I've seen people say, and it's casting directors, they'll say that if you do mess up during the audition, you can ask if you can restart or redo it or take it from the top. Or like me, if you do mess up, just keep going. Because I'd never auditioned before, but I knew to keep going and just pick myself up and keep on, because it'll be way worse if you go and beat yourself up about it in the audition. Although that probably has happened for a few people. You just want to keep going. Casting directors are very scary people. They are, because they're pretty much judging you essentially. But so I look at a lot of casting directors on social media, and some of them are actually very nice, and they're doing a job just like you're trying to do a job too. And so, what you need to think about as an actor auditioning, I'm talking like I'm an expert. I'm not, I promise. But what we need to do as actors, whenever we're in an audition and we're auditioning in front of casting directors or on a self-tape or anything like that, Zoom audition, we need to know that these casting directors want you to succeed. And I read that from a casting director. She even was like, we want you to succeed because you make our jobs easier. And if you're doing your best and you're putting in 100% effort, we're going to see that. So you have to think about it like in a positive way rather than these people are judging me, they're going to make or break, my next paycheck or my next acting gig. It has to be like, these people want me to succeed. Think about it positively. You got to think about everything in a positive light that you possibly can. Some things you just can't think about positively, but there's always a bright side, right? Maybe. So going back to this was actually an episode in a TV show for a horror TV show in my local area, and we started, so I got the email that I got the part on December 13th, and then we filmed it in February, so I had the script was about 14 pages, and I had about 8 pages of script I had to memorize. It wasn't much. It was a lot more than I've ever done, but it wasn't a lot. Like, you see, 160 pages of script. It wasn't anything crazy. And I'll talk about my memorization process that I do. I'm thinking about changing it up a bit. I'll talk about this later, but I'm thinking about changing up my process a bit too. Because I'm still learning out. I'm still trying to figure out what's best and what works for me and what doesn't. So on my first day of filming, in February when we filmed the episode, I was there for 12 hours, and I got up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and I got back home at around close to 10 p.m. But it was a very fun and amazing first experience. I think this was a really good first experience for me, especially as a new actor, someone who didn't really know what was going down or anything like that. I thought this was the best possible case scenario for a first acting experience, and I was lucky to have that. Because if it was a terrible first experience, I'd probably be traumatized. And I'm not even joking about that. But luckily it wasn't, and the production was amazing, the staff, the people there were nice people, the actors, fellow actors, co-stars, everybody was nice, and it was a good experience to have. It hasn't come out yet. It comes out in, I think, October, since it's about Halloween, a Halloween themed thing, so I'll have that when it comes out. I was going to say I was going to insert a clip, but I don't know how I'm going to do that in this video. Maybe I'll put it on YouTube. But as I said, I was nervous about even emailing them that I was interested in the role. And it ended up being a really fun experience and a really good time. A really first acting experience. So after that, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can be in film. I can act, So I'll talk about this really quickly. As I said, I'm a very shy person. I have stage fright, although I'm trying to get over that. And when I tell people, which I'll usually, okay, I have don't do this. This is a bad habit to have, but I used to not even tell people I wanted to act. I didn't even tell people until recently, maybe 2 years ago. So no one really knew I wanted to act. And if you want to do something, let people know. That's what I learned. Let people know, because you never know who you're talking to or what they can help you with. Because if you don't tell anybody, they don't know anything and they can't help you. Not everyone's going to help you, but you know. So I never used to tell anybody that I wanted to act. I don't know. I don't know why I never did, but I do now. And even then, people are still shocked every time I tell them. It's just because of me personally. They're like, you want to act? You're the shyest person we know. You're very quiet as well. And so I tell them that, and they're just shocked. Yeah. But anyway, I said all that to say, let people know. You know, it may also bring up some conversations with people, and you can talk to them about that if you need something to talk to someone about too. So, like I said, I found that my first ever gig on Facebook acting groups. So the thing about Facebook groups and finding casting calls on Facebook groups is that it's very limited, but it's a very good resource, especially if you don't have an agency. So I'd suggest, if you're new, to go find acting groups within your local area. I mean, you can even audition for stuff outside of your local area. I haven't done that yet, but you can do that too. So Facebook groups, what I mean by limiting is that when you are on these Facebook groups, there's not much being posted, casting calls being posted. And so I've gone several months without even seeing anything that I could do. And what I mean by I can do and limiting is that sometimes casting calls go out. You may not even be the right age, you may not be the right gender, you may not be the right race if race is applicable. You may not be the right height even. I mean, different things like that. And so that's what I mean by limiting. And especially because most of the time these are smaller productions, and so they may not have enough funds for the productions or whatever, and they can't make as many as maybe they are in a bigger place or a bigger, like Hollywood or something, you know. And the thing about, if you are trying to do out of state acting, you have to make sure that, or out of country acting, you have to make sure that they're going to cover your travels and expenses, because if they don't, it's coming out of your pocket. And that's when you have to weigh, is this job going to be more beneficial to me, or should I save my money? But just make sure that they say that they will cover your costs and they will give you a hotel or something while you're filming over there, because if they don't, then you're going to have to look into the area, pay for everything, pay for your travel, and that's more money out of your pocket. So you have to make sure if it's worth it for you, or if they do cover the expenses. I have notes over here. You can't see it, but it's on my notes app. That's why I keep looking over here. And Facebook groups, so most of the time with these Facebook groups, you will be working for free or for very cheap. So if you are looking for something that can help pay your bills or cover your expenses or costs or something, Facebook groups, they're not your go-to, just so you know. But if you do want to get acting experience, like I'm trying to build a resume, or you're just trying to add to your resume, you can do these things and maybe you'll get a little money. It's the plus side whenever you're getting some money for it. I personally I've been working for free since I started, so, and that's like, I'd say 60-70% is working for free. And I've also noticed that if it is a paid gig, it's going to be super competitive to get the part, to get the role. And so you have to be mindful of that too. I've noticed some things, it's like, sometimes it'll be like, we're not going to pay, but we will give you food, which most do because you have to. But some of them, they'll say, we'll give you 100 for 10 hours of work. And so a lot of people, they see the money in there and they're trying to get that money. And so it's very competitive, as we all would. We would all want to get paid for our work, but it's very competitive. So a lot of people are going to be trying to get that role, get that gig. And more competition means less opportunity. Just so you know.
It's a type of projection that uses light to map out higher dimensions in a lower field. 2D shapes have linear shadows, and 3D shapes have 2D shadows. So supposedly, 4D shapes have 3D shadows.